Welcome to another episode of the Cafecito. I'm your host, Christiana. You all know the tagline by now, but if not, I'll always say it. We love talking to everyday people doing extraordinary things, and today is no different. We have an amazing guest, so I'm excited to introduce you all in a minute. But before we do that, special thank you to our sponsor, We The Plug. We The Plug is an online platform that is virtual right now. We also do in-person meetups, but y'all know COVID, so that ain't happening. But it's an online platform where you can connect with other like-minded individuals in the startup entrepreneurial space. Or if you're in the tech space and you're wanting to look at changing careers or scaling your resume, it's a great community for that. There's so many different opportunities, including those that may be in the bilingual space as well. So check us out at www.wetheplug.com. All right, so without further ado, I am excited to welcome our guests to the stage. And I'm gonna bring her in. Maresa is here. Maresa is here today. Welcome. Wait, are you drinking anything on the cafecito? I have my little cactus cup.
You know what? I am unprepared. I should have had my mug and it would have been filled with water.
Yes.
But I don't have anything right now, but I'm happy to be here.
Yes.
You
And I
know,
called her
Christiana.
Marissa, and it's actually not Marissa, it's Marisa.
True.
So,
But many people say Maresa. I am Marisa. And thank you, Christiana. We have worked on so many things together. So I'm so happy to be here with you today. Thanks for having me.
I'm so thankful to have you here. And just real quick of how I even met her, and I always butcher her name at some point, but she is very forgiving to me. I literally was at a startup event. It was 2 years ago, 2018. I just launched my consulting company, and 2 months prior to meeting you, and I was rushing up a flight of stairs on my way to the restroom, and she was sitting at a table, and I saw her, and I was like, wait a minute, let me come back over to you and find out who you are and what you do. She just had a great energy. And then I saw something about legal, and I was like, a sister, legal? Okay, let's find out more about who she is. So tell the folks the company that you have founded.
So I am the founding attorney of Talbert Law Office. My law office, we focus on business, nonprofit, and intellectual property law. For those who don't know what intellectual property is, it's trademarks, copyrights, primarily trade secret stuff, but also in making sure that their creative assets are not only protected, but also enforced. So helping people to enforce those rights once they receive them.
And for those of you all who may wonder how, do you even connect with someone like this? You have to look for them, because oftentimes you'll just see, a legal representative, and you'll think, oh, I can just go to this person. But it's really important to go to specialized folks, because they're able to efficiently get the work done that you need to get done. And she is that person, let me tell you. So tell me a little bit about, like, how did you even get into the space? Have you always wanted to go into law, or?
So it's a little, yes, I've always wanted to go into law. Growing up, that was what I was going to do. All my friends knew it. That was my path. I wanted to be a lawyer. However, I didn't know that I wanted to necessarily into business and intellectual property law. It kind of merges well with the group of friends that I had growing up, which were creative people. A lot of my friends are musicians, and a lot of them were doing stuff musically and kind of diving into that, and they're still doing that now. So it's kind of cool to see all of us come to this point where we always talked about as we were teenagers and stuff like that. But when I thought that I wanted to be a lawyer, I thought I wanted to be a criminal law attorney. And when I got to law school, it was really when I took my criminal law class that I realized I do not like this. Criminal law was heavy, it was depressing. And I knew for me that I would carry that with me on a day-to-day basis, that I would take that home with me, that it would weigh on me. And I was like, oh, this is not for me. But I love business. I love my business law course. And during that time, I was like looking into interning, and looking at who I was going to intern with. And I realized that it was just around like 2014, 2015. And people were starting to come out with their own emojis. They had the Kimoji. Kim Kardashian came out with her own emoji. Wendy Williams came out with her own emoji. And Amber, what's her name? Amber Rose came out with her own emojis. So during that time, I'm like looking and I'm seeing that people are starting to really like brand themselves in this new kind of way, which then opened up for me to start looking into like the intellectual property space and realizing like, oh, this is it. Like, this is going to be what is forthcoming. And I started to really learn more about that. I did all my internships in some type of intellectual property field or business field, and I loved it. I loved every part of it. And so that's really when I knew, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to pursue. It's a celebratory type of law. My clients are really excited about these new beginnings of what they're about to embark on. And so I get to celebrate that with my clients.
There's a couple of things that I want to extract out of what you shared right now that I think is important to highlight for our viewers, because one of the things that we talk about oftentimes is strategy, right? And we need strategy across all facets of our life, personal and professional. And one of the things that stood out to me with what you said right now is that when you were looking at your career and you had already started had been enrolled in law school, and had you completed your first year already?
No, I had not completed my first
You were
year,
just
but
in the middle of it.
I was in the middle of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so to change the trajectory, because you could see, like, when you were looking out, you could see how that was going to play out in your personal life. I know from personal experience, I did that in my undergrad and I caught flack in my family. And I understand why. But sometimes we see things, but we pull away from it because we're like, no, I can just suck it up. I can do it. Or we value money more, or the prestige more, or not letting down certain people in our life to cause us to go, no, I'll just stay with it. Like, and you didn't do that. You had the wherewithal to say, no, I'm not going to continue down this road. I'm a pivot. I'm a shift. What was that thing for you? That, because I think that's emotional intelligence that's kicking in at that point, right? What was it for you that made you feel confident enough to do it instead of just like, no, it'll be fine?
Well, that's a good question. I knew, so in criminal law, like, there is a lot of pressure, or I would rather say encouragement, to go into the criminal law field as a Black attorney, because we need the representation there, right? We need it on both sides, both defense and the prosecution. And so that is kind of like part of why I thought like that was going to be my lane. Like, I want to fight for the people, right? I want to fight for my people. But I knew one thing that I have always kind of thought about is I'm definitely a planner. And so part of that is knowing what I want my life, I don't know every part of it, but parts of what I want my life to look like down the road. And the fact that I want to be available to my family, I want to be mentally happy and mentally sane and satisfied with my career. I want to be excited about the things that I take on. And I just knew that if I went into this criminal law field, I would be miserable. Even though this was my plan all this time, years and years and years in the making, I would be miserable. So it was really kind of like finding, okay, what is next? And it was kind of like a little bit of a scramble to figure out, okay, this is clearly not going to work. What can be the next best thing for me? What else can I do in law that I would enjoy? And thankfully, I was able to find that I really enjoyed business law, and that I really enjoyed IP, but it was just knowing that I would literally be miserable, and I did not want that for the rest of my life or for the tenure of my career as an attorney.
Man, talk about taking control of your narrative. Um, so, I mean, as you're like going along and you're getting through law school, you get to a place where it's like, okay, I'm going to now work, right? That's the next thing. You're gonna work. So you're a founder now of your own law firm, but was that always the goal, or did you work for other firms? And like, how did that transition happen,
Okay,
for
so
you?
that was completely not the goal at all. I never had aspirations to have my own firm or even be an entrepreneur of any sort. My thought was, I'm going to get out of law school. I'm going to go into big law and tear this corporate world up and just be great having a boss. And when I left law school, the firms that were hiring were either hiring someone who needed experience, either 3 to 5 years or 5 to 7 years. So I was a fresh law school graduate and was like, okay, well, these IP firms, they want experience. I applied probably to 100 different jobs, put in resumes everywhere. I was so discouraged because I was like, first of all, I'm a veteran. I have a skill set. I worked at the Capitol doing policy work before I even went into the military. Like, I had all of these things. So this was not my first job.
Right.
Going to law school, I had a career before law school, and I felt like I was very much skilled to be in the workforce. So I was very discouraged with the fact that I couldn't find a job. And I was putting in my resume everywhere. And I started doing independent contractor work for other attorneys. So I was working for like 3 or 4 different attorneys doing contract work for them. I was working at my law school at the time as doing student engagement, which I loved doing. And I had applied for that position full time and didn't get picked for that position. So that was like another stab of just like not getting any jobs. And so while I'm working for these other attorneys as an independent contractor, I'm learning here and there, and I'm, kind of liking that. But I was getting paid the first attorney that I started working for was paying me $25 an hour. And he wasn't really a supervisor. He was like, I was literally just doing the work, and I was delivering like great work. So I was just thinking, okay, he's paying me $25 an hour when I could really be doing this for myself,
Wow.
from me to the client. And my husband really was the one who pushed me and was like, man, you could do this. Like, you do this. And then I had my mentors who none of whom were Black. My mentors were white males. Most of them. I have one female mentor, and I have a judge who was a mentor, a Black judge, but most of them were saying, step out on your own. You're a Black female. You can market yourself, because there are none other in this space of business and IP. And I didn't really think of it in that way. I was just like, really? but still, I was still doubting myself. Like, I don't know if that's really what I want to do. So really the crux of what pushed me was I got asked one of my mentors hooked me up to speak on a CLE, and a CLE is a continued legal education. So as lawyers, we have to continue to get certain credits to maintain, continue legal education to maintain our license. Sure. And so it's a certain amount is required every year, every 2 years. And so I was speaking as a panelist, as a brand new attorney. I was speaking as a panelist on eliminating bias and microaggressions to all of these senior attorneys who have been practicing law for years and years and years. I'm fresh out of law school. And when they asked me, how do you want us to introduce you? I was thinking, I don't know. I don't know what to say other than I'm a licensed attorney. I'm me. And so really after that, I was like, okay, I need to be able to say something. Yeah. So I was taking a course at UCSD. I was taking an intellectual property certificate program course, and my professor sent me his former clients. He was a patent attorney. He sent me his clients who needed a trademark. And from there, it was like, okay, I am now like actively taking on my own clients. I need to like do something. Like, so I need to say I'm something. Right. So that is really between not knowing how to introduce myself and taking on a for real client. That was the culmination of me like coming up with a name to say, okay, I'm going to start this. I'm just going to start this firm. And that was supposed to be my bridge between not working and then getting a job at a law firm. It was just supposed to be a temporary thing where I was like, this will just hold me over until I actually get a job at a law firm that I want to work for. Wow. But then it became a real practice, and then I started getting more clients and more clients and more clients. And then I did get hired at a law firm. And I was so spoiled by that time of having my own autonomy and practicing law the way that I thought law should be practiced, that I was like, after 2 months, I was like, okay, I'm good though. Like, I hate working here. I get up really upset every day to come into this office. I'll just do it myself. Wow. That was like the whole thing. And now I love every bit of it. I'm so thankful that God took me through these ups and peaks and valleys, because it got me to this point. Because otherwise, had I got a job, I would have been happy working for someone else for the rest of my day.
Yo, man, listen, let me tell you, testify and amen, because one of the things that stuck out to me is, our mentors, I know representation matters, right? But we often forget that we have allies in our life that will come in and speak life, because anybody can come in and speak life into your life, but you have to be open to receiving it. And you spoke early on about your mentors were white males, who spoke into your life to say, look, you should do this, you can do this, and this is how to do it. Which again, sometimes we forget about that piece. So I'm glad that you highlighted it. And then the other thing that stepped out to me is the confidence that we feel when we are like, on that wave. I've been there too, where it's like, yo, look at my resume, check my resume, I'm good. Now let me go and get this. And then it don't happen. You like, okay, anyway, so let me go. And then after the 10th, 20th time, you're like, what? But the 100th time, and so sometimes I think we don't necessarily embrace that, because why would you, right? Because you're thinking about a lot of things, not just your ego, but maybe you have an overhead. Law school ain't cheap. And so it's like, okay, so how am I going to cover all these things? And what I appreciate about you is, one, your tenacity. You never gave up. You look for opportunities to pivot, but you were open. That was the biggest thing. You also mentioned how your husband was like, yo, you could do this, having that. And this is
he was egging me on.
girl. And this is not something something that we really talked about is having those life partners in life. I don't even know why we haven't really talked about it, but those life partners in life that literally are in our corner to be like, no, you got this. I promise you.
Yes, between my husband and my mom, they kept me afloat. Like those two kept me afloat because I tell you, it was about a year-long period of just I didn't know what was happening. I was like, where am I going? What am I doing? I am so mad at the world right now because this is the first time that things are not going according to plan. What is going on?
Come on.
And between them two, they kept me sane, they kept me going. And I was like, okay, God, I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Like, what is happening? Now
Why
I know.
are you doing this to me? I'm good. That's the first thing we go to. I'm good. Like, I'm nice. I've done it the right way. Why are you doing this to me? But like you said, there's a greater lesson in this. And look at how you were kept in the midst of your trials.
Mm-hmm. And the both of them, my husband, my mom, they were so supportive. They were probably the only ones who knew what I was going through at that time because I was still showing up to the world in every way that everyone else needed me.
That part.
And no one knew. I did not miss a nothing in the community. I didn't miss nothing. There were times I was volunteering. It's funny to say this now. I was volunteering at an eviction clinic at the time because I was doing whatever I could to stay busy. I was volunteering everywhere.
Sharpen your skills.
Sharpening my skills. I was volunteering at an eviction clinic. I was at every city council hearing during the day where I would people are normally working. I was at everything. Because I was like, I cannot sit at home and do nothing. And the eviction clinic is about 40 minutes away from where I live. It was up at the courthouse in Vista, and I live in San Diego. So Vista is about a 45 minute drive from San Diego. There were days that I had to cancel not going in because I didn't have the gas to get there.
Girl, listen, don't get me tearing up because you are speaking to me right now. Keep testifying.
And it came to a point that I could not keep going up there because it was so much effort and gas that it took from me to get up there that I just had to stop volunteering up there. And I couldn't even tell them why I had to stop. I was just like, I can't come anymore. Because I was literally just trying to like pay my rent, keep the lights on, and eat when I could. And everything else, like I was still showing up for everybody else. And no one had a clue other than my mom and my husband who were like, what do you need? We got you covered. And like, all I can say is thank you, Jesus, because it was nothing. It was nothing else. I had nothing else.
Yes. Man, listen, you got me in my feelings right now in a good way because what you are speaking to is not just relatable to me but it's the testimony for me and my business partner and for so many of our founders, where we are literally building this world this purpose, I should say, that's been given to us to build and on scrappings. It's like, okay, well, let me do this and let me figure this out and but you're trusting the process. And it's not that you're being irresponsible, right? Like you're being very responsible. You're doing everything you know to do, but you're literally just leaning in and trusting the process because you believe that if this purpose was given to you, then it surely is going to manifest as long as you do the work. And that's where that prayer and work come into play. I was on another call with a gentleman earlier today, and we were talking about that prayer and work. Like you pray and then you go do the work and you just trust, you just believe, but you keep going and then you'll see it manifest. And it's not always going to happen right away. You said a year. Like I know what that feels like where you're experiencing this, it just feels like deficit after deficit, but you're like, nope, I'm gonna keep going, I'm gonna keep going, and then you see a little spurt. And it's,
Yeah.
you know, I also am thinking about, so thank you, first off, for sharing that, being transparent and sharing that, because it's a reminder for me. And I'm sure those of you all who are watching, for you all who are going through similar trials and tribulations, just stay the course, stay encouraged, because you are going to come out on the other side. And we're here to help support you. You know, get on the membership page. That's why the community is there. Uh, to help keep us covered in times like this. I wanted to talk a little bit about this other topic, but I wanted to highlight when you were talking about the criminal space and you wanted to advocate. And it's so funny. I often will ask people, you know, who are they? You know, how do they show up each day? And people will give me different things. Some people will talk to me about who they're becoming. Some people would say more traditional ways. But I feel like at the core, we are this thing. And then these modes of transportation, our careers, is what, like, vehicles we use. You know, you're an advocate. I mean, I don't know if you would describe yourself that way, but as I'm listening, I'm like, yo, she's still an advocate, even though she's not in the criminal system. You're still going to bat and defending. And how would you say, you know, who are you? Who are you?
So that is a beautiful question. I love that question. So yes, I would describe myself as an advocate. Even before being a lawyer, I think I am a community advocate. And that shows up in a lot of ways, specifically in this space right now. So I work on a few political campaigns. One congressional, one mayoral. I am in a think tank with a lot of other people who are running for different offices right now, specifically in the city of San Diego, one who's running for city attorney, one who's running for school board, one who's running for mayor of another city. So I'm in their think tanks, passing around ideas. And so I get to advocate for the community in the policy level. And what people are bringing to the table for the Black community. I also, that shows up in, like I said, I didn't miss a city council hearing. I am very much involved and engaged in what goes on and the decisions that are being made in this city, how they're gonna affect our community. I chair San Diegans for Justice, co-chair San Diegans for Justice, which has brought Measure B to the city of San Diego. That's on the ballot for November, which is about police accountability and transparency.
Yeah.
So that is, I started working on that in law school, in my first year of law school. And that has come full circle because although it has changed hands, I'm still involved in the process. And now I'm the co-chair for our committee who's brought that forward. So my advocacy shows up in so many different places and spaces right now. And that advocacy is getting bigger. And I it's funny because in one of my calls earlier today, I specifically said, I will always advocate for the Black community. Like, that was my words verbatim in discussing another matter and another issue that was at hand. And so that is one of the ways, a lot of times when people know that I'm a lawyer and they see me in the community, they think I'm a civil rights attorney, because I'm always kind of in that space. When I'm out in the community, they don't know that I do business and intellectual property law until I tell them, and they're like, oh, that's totally different. Like, oh, wow. And even in the business and IP space, there are not a lot of Black people. Exactly. So now there are Black entrepreneurs and people who are starting businesses who are looking for Black attorneys, and they're like, but where are y'all? Where there ain't none. So even in that space, I am always gonna be there, showing up for my community.
Yes.
And it just shows up in different ways. Something that I'm working on right now, just because it has been pressed upon me, just working on these political campaigns, is creating e-courses around the different roles. So I'm in the process of creating that now for a launch in the spring, creating e-courses around the role of the mayor and why this is important for you, the role of the city attorney, the role of city council, and what does that look like for you, so that when it comes time for us to vote, we're not like at the last minute trying to figure out who these people are, but we can be following and have our hands and our concerns in the process from the beginning, that nobody can come at the back end and give us a bunch of fluff and then say, oh, this is what I'm going to do for you. No, you know exactly what is in their purview. You know exactly what their role is, and you can ask, and you can, ask for what you want, demand, ask the right questions, because you know what they're supposed to be doing and what their responsibility is. So I'm tired of seeing us being left out. I'm tired of seeing us not knowing the process enough to want to be engaged.
Right.
I'm tired of us not knowing how to get a pothole fixed on our street.
Right.
So I want to build content and educational content around that, for us to be better involved and better engaged.
That is fire. Is this going to be something that can also be implemented in the school system as well?
So that is one of the questions. So actually, the one of the campaigns that I'm working on, she's running for mayor, Barbara Bree. I'm also working on Sarah Jacobs' campaign, who's running for Congress for the 53rd district. So shout out to both of them.
Hey.
But that was one of the things she asked when I told her I was creating this. She's like, we need to get this in the school systems.
Yes.
Like, we need this. So it's something that I'll be working on. Once I release them, I'll be working with the city in some capacity, hopefully, to get this into the school system.
This is so, girl, listen, like I told y'all, like, when you are trusting the process, how things will manifest is mind-blowing. But you have to keep going forward. You have to keep going. And what she has just shared right now and laid out for us all is literally the blueprint for how, in spite of feeling like you are at a deficit, you still have assets. You hold on to those assets. You use those assets to help build you up. And look at how widespread you have taken the work that you're doing. And again, like I said, the advocacy work that you're doing is now, it's not, oh gosh, yes, we need people defending us and on the prosecuting side and on the defense side, but we need more being able to change the policies and educate so that we don't become part of that narrative that lands us in court. And so the beauty behind, let me slow down because I might get to testifying up here. But when we can't always see, right?
Yeah.
Where we're supposed to go. But when you lean in and you say, I trust, because you could have acquiesced and said, okay, I'm just going to stay in this position. No, I'm just going to just get this job. I'm going to stay with this $25. But you need it to be used in a different capacity. Your voice, your light needed to be used in a different capacity than the way you were going to be using it. You thought you were supposed to be using it. Maybe that's the way I should say.
Yeah.
Because it would have been pigeonholed. It would have had constraints that, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God, girl.
I know. When I think about where I am now, and I'm only 3 years out of law school, and I think about that 1 year, that first year out, and I could not have imagined that this would be what I'm doing, which is every part of everything that I love. I love.
She ain't
My
lying,
days
y'all.
are
Whenever
my
I talk
own.
to her on the phone, she is like, it could be 9 o'clock at night and she'll be, oh yeah, I've had a long day. But then like, that's who she is. She loves what she does. Yeah.
I love what I do. My days are my own. I have my own autonomy which is one of the most critical and important things to me, is to have my own autonomy,
Freedom,
have my
yes.
own agency. I get to do what I love. I get to work with people that I truly believe in and support. I don't have to do any of it. I choose to, and I get to. And I would have never seen any part of this had I got the job, because I would have been stuck at a desk working for someone else, doing a 9 to 5 and thinking that that was okay.
Yeah, in the fog. You know what? You bring up such a good point, because when we talk to folks about the work that We the Plug do, me and my partner Luis, that you are a partner with us on, a business partner with us on, which we are so thankful for you. Um, is that we want to provide just a different alternative for our youth, and our young adult, and dare I say, any adult who is looking to, um, pivot. I was on a cafecito a couple of days ago with a woman who's based in New York, who has a company. It's called oh goodness, I can't think of her right now, but her name is Betty Wong though, and Betty Wong saw an opportunity after she, as she put it, laid out the pasture after retirement, and she was like, I'm still vibrant. I got a lot going on, and so many other people are like me. And she actually started the I call it the senior version of We the Plug. So she literally works
Okay.
with folks that are over the age of 50. I think 40 and up maybe is a better way to say it, but it's mostly, those people who are at retirement age, or have retired. And she's like, yo, what do you want to do? And it's blown up. People are leaning in, but it's that whole kind of storyline, where it's like, I need to be open to receive. I need to be willing to change, to let go of how it's going to manifest, because
Yes.
like I'm one of them people that's controlling. And, I'm like, oh, okay, I got this. I know how it's going to manifest. And it's like, no, you don't. Get out of my way and let me just
Yeah.
move you how I need to move you. And because
Yeah.
I created you, and I try not to get too caught up in the religious part of things, but we're talking about the spiritual awareness of understanding, whether it's based on biblical principles or any other type of belief system, but having that rooted foundation to know that you are created on purpose for a divine work. And if you
Absolutely.
can just be willing to open yourself to receiving and recognizing it's going to come from different spaces, but just be willing to receive as you're going through it. Walk through it as best you can. Sometimes you got to crawl through it, and sometimes you're rolling around on the floor, throwing a tantrum, and that's just what it is.
That's what it
Get
is.
up.
Yeah. I have to agree with everything that you just said, because this completely was not the way that I saw it manifesting. But now that it has, I'm like, there's so many other things are kind of like moving themselves. So there was, as I mentioned before, I'm a planner, and I've had probably my life plan for a long time. And that year of like not knowing completely cut me off from like planning my life out. So there are things I will still plan, but I don't plan years in advance. I'm now like going with the flow. We'll see what happens. I don't know what's next for me. I'm planning till November 3rd at this point. Like, that's as much as I can see right now. November 3rd is my day. And then after November 3rd, I'll see what else happens. And so before, I need to know. Like, I need to know what's happening a year from now. I need to know what's happening that year from, like, it needs to be planned, and I have it to the date, and this is the way it's going to go. And for the most part, that serves me very well as when I was younger. That served me very well because I did go kind of according to the plan. I had one detour, which was the military, but it was a great detour. And then I went right back to the rest of the plan. So I went into the military to pay for law school, which was my mom's suggestion of going to school for free. And I was like, I don't know about that. Then I detoured, did that plan. I was like, okay, I'll get my 4 years in, get my 100% GI Bill, and then get out and go to law school. And I stuck to the plan. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, people who knew me growing up were like, you really stuck to the plan. Like you did all of that.
Yeah.
And up until that point, I had gone according to plan, like pretty much everything lined up. That year after law school, I was like, I don't know what's happening. And it broke me from that rigid structure, which I needed in order to now flow in what I'm doing now. So planning served me really well early on. And now I plan in short temporary stints. So I have a plan A, but I'm also able to pivot if plan A doesn't work. And it's not taking me out of, some major, it's not a major inconvenience because I'm like, I don't even know what's happening. I'm going with the flow and we'll see what comes along. God, you got it. And that's all I could say about it. And so that is what's working for me right now. And maybe down the line, long-term planning will come back, or maybe it won't. I don't know. But right now, things are taking a life of its own. And I'm just kind of like going with it, and it's going really well.
Yes, I was about to say, sometimes we have to be okay with like releasing the reins. And I appreciate what you were saying too about there was a time in your life where that planning structure needed to happen. My dad used to tell me something all the time because, like I said, I had control issues and I'm working on it. But he used to tell me, there are certain things that you need early on in life, but you have to learn when to let them fall off. And so he would give an example of a toddler, knows when it's time to let go of holding on to something, just keep walking and trust that my legs are going to keep me upright. But as an adult, and I recently come back to this book, every transition, I like hard books. You can read, I like to touch them. I do audio for certain things, but I love books. But there's this one book, it's called The Four Agreements by Miguel Luis, or Luis Miguel, always interchange the name, but The Four Agreements, you can Google it if you all have never heard of it, but I suggest you guys go check it out. Anyway, it talks in there about agreements in our life and reviewing to see, do we need to keep that agreement or break apart from that agreement? And I recognize, because I always write notes in the crevices of my books, every time I was transitioning, I read that book. I went back to that book. And I asked myself, why did because I didn't realize that until this fourth transition in my life that I've experienced. And I realized it's because I'm evaluating the agreements that I have up to this stage gate. Is there something I need to come out of agreement with so that I can continue moving forward? Or is this why I'm kind of immobile or stuck or whatever? I feel like, I'm kind of circling on that hamster wheel. And so I really appreciate how you you highlighted that I needed this in my younger years because there needed to be structure. And the other thing that stuck out to me is planning versus vision. You're not saying you don't have a vision for your life. Right. Which sometimes people equate planning to vision. And I think planning is an extension of the vision written out, right? But the vision is unwavering because the vision is part of the advocate. You're an advocate. Mm-hmm. So no matter what, it's just the planning of what vehicle are you going to put me in next. Yes. That's the thing. It's like, I'm an advocate. So when people ask me, who are you? I say at the core of who I am, I'm an advocate and servant leader. So no matter what vehicle you put me in, That's how I'm going to operate. So I've worked in nonprofit work. I did healthcare work. I worked for the CDC for a little, or under the CDC guidelines for a while with another company, but I worked directly with the CDC, right? And helped with executing curriculum and all that. But no matter where you put me, I worked in the juvenile justice system, right? Now I'm doing entrepreneurial work. But what is the common theme with all those different positions? An advocate and a servant leader. And so once I did that and said, oh, you don't have to say, hi, I'm Christiana Russell, and I'm the director of, hi, I'm Christiana, because they're going to change. And I started thinking, oh, what is my identity? It's all these different people. No, 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 no. Who are you, girl? Who did God make you to be? I'm an advocate and servant leader. That's how I show up each day. Here are the vehicles that I use in order to express that. And that's where the planning comes in, because it's like, well, what's next for you? Well, here's the larger vision of what I'm created to do. How that's going to play out.
Yeah.
I'm letting go of the process. That's
Yes.
how I receive what you said right now.
Yes.
And that's the first time I can say I've ever received it that way. So thank you. I didn't know this was going to be a session for me. But y'all, it's the Cafecito, and that's how we get down. Man. Girl, what's the call to action? Those who are watching this, like I told you all, she's part of We the Plug. We definitely have connected folks with her. You get a discount when you do use We the Plug discount, but I'll talk about that at the end. But tell the people what's the call to action before I want them to.
The call to action. So I have two. The call to action, one for those who are creative, not necessarily a creative. We are all creative. And if you have something that is bubbling up within you, bursting inside of you, start it, do it now. And don't delay, because the time is now. It seems like, the world is going awry, but the time is now. So don't delay. If you have something that you want to do, something that you want to start, a solution to a problem, get it out and start it. That's one call to action. The other call to action is for everyone. Do your part to be a part. Get engaged. We have election day less than a week away. And there is still so many of us who don't know what's going on or feel like we cannot understand. And that's okay, because a lot of times it is meant for our misunderstanding. But we have to do our part. So if you don't know, you have to latch on to someone else who does. And like I said, I will be releasing content early in the spring next year that will start to help us pivot around some of these misunderstandings that we've had for so long. But we need to be a part. Our voices have to be heard, and we can't come in the ninth hour saying these are all the things that are wrong without having a demand that will fix our issue. That is part of the problem, is that we don't have succinct demands on what we want to see. We can only identify what has been going wrong. And so in order to change things, we have to have a demand, and it should be fairly collective. So we can't have 50 different demands for one problem. We need to have a collective demand. So start to think about that. Our next election is going to be in 2022 after this one. So we have the time to start getting those things together. Start now.
Wow. You know what? Everything she said. Tell the people where they can find you.
I'm not big on social media, but you can find me on LinkedIn, Maresa Martin Talbert or Maresa Martin Talbert. And you can go to my website at talbertlawoffice.com, and you can find me there. So.
And she's also on We the Plug platform as well. And we're definitely, you can also find her on YouTube. She's done some trainings on YouTube, and I'll put the link down there. Or they're on the We the Plug YouTube that she's done, that you can reach out to her. And if you're a founder and you're even early stage and have not really got all your corporation paperwork together, or you have an idea, definitely reach out to her. She is available to answer questions. And then the other thing is, people get scared when they hear a lawyer and they automatically think, I can't afford it. Do not let that stop you from reaching out, because there are resources available to you. There are payment plans available. Don't let anything stop you. Something as small as, I don't know if I can afford it, should not be the reason why. Nor should, oh, I can just Google it. Don't do it. Believe me, I've learned. Don't do it. So again, thank you so much for taking out the time. I did not, I had no idea we were going to go this direction. I am beyond thankful and grateful that we were led down this path, and especially your willingness to be as transparent as you have been, because it's going to help multitudes of folks. And I'm really excited for the curriculum to come down.
Thank you, Christiana. My pleasure. Always a pleasure when we connect.
Listen, that was divine. I'm telling you, I was on my way somewhere else, and I was like, let me come back down here and connect with the sister. So, and that was 2 years ago, like I said, and you've been that same person showing up. And I just am thankful for you. So, all right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Cafecito. You guys know how to stay connected to us. We're on Instagram under the Cafecito. You can also find us on our webpage, as well as our membership page, and of course, YouTube. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.